Back in 2019, Dell sold this PC for a staggering $1,300. The problem? The hardware inside wasn't even worth half that price. This is the Alienware Aurora R10. At the time, it could handle virtually every AAA game on the market. Its futuristic design certainly turned heads, but that wasn't enough to silence the criticism over its price and limited upgradeability. So today, we're tearing it down, upgrading it as far as possible, and finding out one thing. Can this old Alienware still play the latest AAA games? That was the first question that popped into my head when I came across this PC on eBay a few weeks ago. It's not old enough to be considered a rare collectible, so there are still plenty of them available online. I ended up picking this one up for $300, and before long it finally arrived at my doorstep. To their credit, the seller packed it like it was made of glass. When I was a kid, owning an Alienware PC was a dream of mine. But once I learned how to build my own computers, I realized just how expensive these pre-built systems really were. At first glance, this doesn't even look like a gaming PC. It honestly feels like Dell took a little too much inspiration from an air purifier when designing it. As for its size, it's actually much more compact than I expected. It's only about half the size of an Alienware Aurora R4, or just slightly larger than a typical micro ATX case. The design itself is surprisingly sleek. It's built around smooth curves with almost no sharp edges anywhere. In fact, it goes completely against the aggressive, boxy design language we usually associate with gaming PCs. One thing that really impressed me was the condition. The exterior is remarkably clean, with no dents or cracks at all. Even better, the protective plastic film on the front panel had never been peeled off, as if this PC had been sitting untouched for years. I guess it's time to figure out how to get this thing open. The problem is, I have absolutely no idea where to start. Oh wait, I think I found it. I need to slide this latch up, except I can't because it's being held in place by this screw, so that has to come out first. Oh my god, I got it. Wow, take a look at this. The inside panel immediately reminds me of those classic low-end OEM desktop cases from the late 90s and early 2000s. You know the ones. Alienware has been around for a long time, and it almost feels like they wrapped one of those old-school OEM designs in a futuristic plastic shell that was supposed to look cool to gamers. I do have to give Dell some credit, though. The internal layout is surprisingly clean. The power supply even swings open like a little door, making it much easier to access the components underneath. But it also raises a question. With the power supply sitting directly above the CPU cooler, isn't it choking off the airflow? We'll find out soon enough. Wait, hold on a second. I honestly expected to see a liquid cooler, or at least something that looked a bit more premium. Instead, it's basically a standard stock air cooler. Compared to the coolers Dell puts in their ordinary office desktops, this really isn't all that different. At first I thought maybe the previous owner had swapped it out for a cheaper one, but after doing a little more research, I found out that this stock cooler actually came from the factory on certain configurations. That's honestly hard to believe. This was a $1,000 plus gaming PC, yet Dell still ships some versions with a cooler that looks like it belongs in a basic office computer. Now let's see what else that hefty price tag actually got you. Starting with the memory, this system has 16 gigabytes of DDR4, split across two 8GB sticks. One thing I noticed right away is that the RAM doesn't have any heat spreaders. I don't think these are the original modules that shipped with the system. There's a good chance they've been replaced at some point. Either way, 16 gigabytes is still perfectly respectable, even by today's standards. Moving on to the processor, we've got an AMD Ryzen 5 3600. When it launched, it sold for around $200, and back then it was easily one of the best mid-range CPUs you could buy in terms of price to performance. Honestly, it's still a solid chip even today. As for the graphics card, this machine is equipped with an 8GB AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT. It originally retailed for about $200 back in 2019. Unfortunately, this isn't the GPU that originally came with the system either, so someone has clearly upgraded or swapped out some of the hardware over the years. So those are the core components inside this Alienware. Looking at everything together, I honestly think that if I had $1,000 to spend back then, I could have built a much better gaming PC myself. Personally, I wouldn't buy this machine based on its hardware alone. But enough talking. Let's see how it actually performs. Alright, we're finally into Windows. First things first, let's confirm the hardware. And yep, it really is a Ryzen 5 3600, featuring 6 cores and 12 threads. It also puts up a solid score in a basic benchmark, which is exactly what I'd expect from this CPU. As for gaming performance, I don't think this machine needs much of an introduction. After all, it's not that old. Starting with Minecraft, the experience is excellent. The game runs incredibly smoothly, with the frame rate staying well above 200 FPS most of the time. Even after enabling shaders, it still manages to hold a steady 60 FPS, which is honestly impressive. Next, I fired up Cyberpunk 2077 on high settings. This is where the system starts to show its limits. Performance drops to around 30 frames per second, and more importantly, the CPU temperature climbs to 95 degrees Celsius. That's definitely hotter than I'd like to see, and it's a clear sign that the cooling system still has plenty of room for improvement. Well, before this thing has a chance to catch fire, let's tear it apart. One thing I noticed right away is that the warranty void sticker on the motherboard is still intact. That usually means nobody has ever taken this system completely apart since it left the factory, not even for a proper deep clean. First, let's disconnect these two power connectors. Just squeeze the clips, wiggle them loose, and try not to accidentally yank the entire motherboard out with them. Next, it's time to remove the 4 screws holding the power supply in place. Yep, more screws. At this point, I'm starting to think Dell must have gotten a bulk discount on screws and decided they were going to use every single one of them. The power supply slides out pretty easily, but of course the cables are wrapped around everything inside the case, almost like they're trying to keep it from escaping. To get it out, I first have to unplug every single cable from the motherboard. After that, it's just a matter of feeding each cable through the chassis one at a time. It's basically like threading a needle, except the needle weighs about 15 kilograms. And after a bit of wrestling, the power supply was finally free. Next up is the motherboard. It uses AMD's AM4 socket, which is definitely a plus since it gives you a decent range of CPU upgrade options. The downside, though, is the VRM cooling. It's extremely basic, with only a small heatsink and no dedicated cooling fan. So if you're planning to overclock this board, you'll want to be very careful because the power delivery could become a limiting factor. This is the front intake fan, which is responsible for pulling fresh air through the case. To get the plastic panels off, I first need to remove these 2 screws and then start working on the top cover. The trick here is to take your time and avoid forcing anything. If you stay patient and resist the urge to swear, everything should come apart just fine. Wow, the amount of dust hiding inside is unbelievable. If I had left it much longer, I probably would have found a family of spiders living in here. Next, it's time to remove the side panels. As you can see, almost the entire exterior is made of plastic, and it's attached to the internal steel frame with a bunch of plastic clips. That means you can't just yank everything apart. If you snap one of those clips, good luck finding a replacement. Alienware spare parts aren't exactly sitting on store shelves. After removing all of the side panels, you thought we were done? Not even close. There are still 6 more screws holding the front USB assembly in place. At this point, I've completely lost track of how many pieces this Alienware has turned into, and honestly, I'm already dreading the moment I have to put all of this back together. Alright, it's finally time to give this Alienware a bath. Hopefully this is the start of its second life. To be fair, it doesn't actually look that filthy, but I still want to wash away years of dust, fingerprints, skin oils, and whatever else has been building up inside this case. Once everything is nice and clean, I'll leave all the parts to dry completely before putting the PC back together. Next, I gave the fans a quick cleanup. They were definitely pretty dirty, but since I couldn't fully disassemble them without risking damage, I just cleaned the blades and the outside as thoroughly as I could. Then I decided to take a look inside the power supply. Oh, would you look at that? The void sticker is still completely intact, which means nobody has ever opened this power supply before. And honestly, wow, it's surprisingly clean inside. There was only a thin layer of fine dust, so a soft brush and a blast of compressed air were all it needed. After that, I sealed it back up right away. I'm not planning to do any repairs in there, and I'd rather not take unnecessary risks with a power supply. Finally, I went over every cable with a damp cloth to remove years of grime and leave everything looking as clean as the rest of the system. With everything cleaned up, it was finally time to put the PC back together. And I'm not kidding. The reassembly actually went much faster than I expected. That said, there's no way I could have remembered where everything went if I hadn't recorded the entire teardown. There are just way too many parts in this thing. Once the hardest part was over, the transformation was obvious. Just look at it. It honestly looks like it just rolled off the factory floor. The only thing I couldn't fix were the scratches on the exterior, but other than that, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Next, it was time to reinstall the motherboard. Since the original air cooler was running way too hot, I decided to upgrade it to a 120mm all-in-one liquid cooler. With that installed, I reassembled the rest of the system. And here's the final result. Alright, moment of truth. Let's power it on and hope I didn't forget to plug anything back in. Perfect. It booted up without a single issue. Now for the part I was really curious about, the temperatures. I loaded up Cyberpunk 2077 again, using the exact same settings as before, and the results were honestly incredible. The CPU is now running about 20 degrees Celsius cooler than it was with the original stock cooler. That's a huge improvement, and exactly the kind of upgrade this machine needed. Like I mentioned earlier, this machine isn't staying stock. Let's start with the RAM. I'm upgrading it from 16 gigabytes to 32 gigabytes. Modern games and creative applications keep demanding more memory every year, and I have a feeling 16 gigabytes won't feel like enough much longer. Next up is the CPU. It's not that the Ryzen 5 3600 is a bad processor. It still holds up surprisingly well, but I wanted to see what this system could really do, so I upgraded to a Ryzen 9 3900X. Which offers roughly 80% more multi-core performance. Unfortunately, this first-generation motherboard only supports Ryzen 3000 Zen 2 processors, so the 3900X is about as powerful as you can realistically go without replacing the board itself. Now for the graphics card. The original RX 5500 XT performs roughly on par with an RX 580, 8GB, so I decided to swap it for an RTX 3060, 12GB instead. And honestly, if you've been following GPU prices lately, you probably already know why I didn't go with anything more expensive. Alright, enough talking. Let's see what this upgraded Alienware is actually capable of in modern games. Let's start with our first AAA title, Black Myth: Wukong. At 1080p with medium settings, the game averages around 80 FPS. Even after bumping the resolution up to 1440p, performance only drops to about 70 FPS, which is still a really smooth experience. Next up is GTA 5. Running at high settings, it stays right around 90 FPS, making for smooth and responsive gameplay. Then there's Sekiro. At 1440p with medium settings, the game is locked at its 60 FPS cap the entire time. In fact, the hardware still has plenty of headroom left. Finally, let's revisit Cyberpunk 2077. Compared to the original CPU, the Ryzen 9 3900X boosts roughly 700 MHz higher under load. At high settings, the game averages around 70 FPS at 1080p at 1080p. Even after increasing the resolution to 1440p, performance only drops by about 10 frames per second, and the gameplay remains smooth throughout, with no noticeable stuttering. After spending some time with this upgraded Alienware, I came away with one clear impression. When you buy a Dell gaming PC like this, raw performance isn't really what you're paying for. You're paying for the design, the engineering, and the Alienware brand. So, what do you think? Was it worth the upgrades, or would you rather build your own PC from scratch? Let me know down in the comments. No, down in the